Okay, you are good.
Perfect. I can see it there.
Yep. Everything you do is mirrored. People on Zoom can see obviously just what their
Yep.
point of view is, but you are good.
Stayed at home?
Right? Oh,
No, Mark, we don't see you enough.
I know. It's always good to be in the office with
On the
it.
motorcycle, so it was a good.
Oh, fun.
So, well, we're gonna cruise around. Perfect day.
What a perfect weekend too.
Not there
I
yet.
had 4 open houses and they were all so busy. One was the first weekend on listing. So on the Friday, we had 12 groups, Saturday, we had 12 groups, and Sunday for that one, because we did it 2 to 4 during grand old days. We had over 25 groups through.
Wow.
It was insanity.
Did you get an offer?
We got 3 offers, all above list price.
Okay.
Yeah, we got some
Awesome.
amazing terms. Really, really cool.
Good. Okay, we're gonna.
Right.
Hi,
Learn some new stuff.
I know. Well, just some tips and tricks, like hopefully,
I want to have my mind blown with all these hidden, like, Easter eggs.
yes. Well, and I've taught this class quite a few different times with agents of all levels. And there's been a lot of longtime agents that are like, are you joking? That would save me a ton of time. So hopefully you'll get one of those or 2 of those that
That's what I
are
want.
popping up.
Right.
Really good stuff.
Yeah. Just got a couple more minutes. So we can. One more minute, it looks like. In here.
Am I in the way? I'm
Nice.
sorry. I take up a lot of real estate. I'm sure that's why I'm in real estate.
If we get those referrals, then there'll be a TV over here, you know?
Yes.
Other television and so we can all see it.
Mine was not crazy.
Hello, teacher. Hi. Thanks for joining us. Okay. The clock in the back of the room does say 1. I'm wondering.
It's only 12:58.
I was gonna say, wait a second, why does the computer say a different time? People come on in. Y'all got the pillows.
I know.
You're aware of these seats.
It's the back, yeah. It's terrible. The back falling off.
I think it's to keep you awake, you know, from the pain, right? You know, keep you, you know, alert.
That's not.
Don't get comfortable.
Yes.
Oh, why did I bring my purse? I had no idea. I didn't need it. I need dangerous, Trish, when you answer yourself.
Right? Yeah. I was just talking to my client yesterday because she has this dog that is like her whole world. And one of my best friends is a veterinarian and we go scuba diving and stuff together. And she's like, it's so funny. You can really tell the people who talk to their dogs and those that don't. And I'm like, there's people that don't talk to their dogs? That seems really strange to me. Why would you have this being in your house if you're not going to talk? Yeah.
No,
You thought the exact same thing. I'm like, what? People don't really
I know, that's why I'm like, you have to talk it out.
some
I may just send it a little early on my way here.
day for it, except for this.
Get out of your eyes? No, okay. My eyes are burning.
I'm just waiting for the dog to
Hot.
Well, where's your dog?
Yeah.
Yeah.
just to talk back to me.
Well, yeah. No. I have the naughtiest corgi on the planet.
Better than.
Literally the naughtiest corgi on the planet. So I wouldn't even want to hear what he would talk back at. He would be better than snow. Oh, God. And all of it. We used to have a ramp up to our bed. My husband goes to our cabin and stuff, and he's fishing in Canada. And one time he took his ramp up and he pooped on his
Hot
pillow.
wood and smoke.
Oh.
Pooped on his pillow.
Oh, you're.
No, he's the naughtiest.
He's not.
Pooped on Clark's pillow. So no more ramp to our bed for that short little leg tie. Yeah, I've got the naughtiest corgi on the planet. Like literally.
Corgis are naughty.
Yeah, and he's got the naughtiest
corgi and they're naughty.
naughty. Yep. No, he had a ramp to our bed and one day he pooped on my husband's pillow. That ramp was away. You're not allowed.
Maybe trying to say something.
He was. That guy. Live at the cabin? Should live at the cabin. Well, I think that we are ready. It is 1 o'clock and I want to make sure that we respect everybody's time. And I know that I tend to talk too much. So I'll try to be as concise as I possibly can. Although I could probably talk hours and hours about the MLS system. I think it's a great system. I haven't tried like the Flex MLS and all the other things that, are out there. And part of it is because I still take trainings do you mind shutting the door behind you? Thank you. I still take the trainings from the MLS courses that they offer because I'm shocked how much I have learned, I think I finally found out about quick CMAs my 5th year into the business. And it literally changed everything about how I do everything in this business. And so that's going to be something we'll probably doing a deep dive on. And we'll talk about it more if you haven't done those things. But the first thing that I just kind of go through all the tabs on the top, and then we'll talk about some searches and then some of the fun things that we can really do. So up at the top, of course, there is the My Matrix, which is just this dashboard of yours. What a lot of people might be looking at my dashboard and saying, it doesn't look like your dashboard. And it's because you get to set your dashboard up however you want it. And so you can click on them and move them where you want them. So for me, I want to see all of my listings box right in front and center. I want the news and alerts on the one side. I want to see who's been going into their One Home portal as a recent use. My carts, I use carts in kind of a different way. When I'm working with buyers, I like to create a cart for them for every property we see, because I'm awfully nosy about, did those sell, that kind of thing. So I use that just for some of the data stuff that I do. In the middle, I have the My Listings. And then I have my recent visitors. So all the people that I have set up on those searches, when was the last time they went and looked at it? Then this little search thing is kind of a new thing. It's only been like 2 years that they've had that on there. Concierge, I have a couple people who I've set up on the concierge searches. Since we don't have a way to know if something's not on a corner or does it have an updated kitchen to my client standard, I would rather look at those properties that come in and approve them for these people. One of them that I have is looking for a lake house and they don't want steep and quite frankly, the searches are only as good as the data that the people who are entering stuff in is putting in them. And we'll look at those things really close. So those are the kind of things I do the concierge for. So I want to, and even though sometimes, I don't know why, sometimes I don't get a notification on my phone for the concierge. So I need to check my MLS quite a bit. Are you able to see? Is that all good? Okay. And then here's the external links. So it's the same thing that are kind of up here in our toolbox, but it's just the external. So then the next thing is the searches. There are so many different ways to search. Of course, there's single family, residential real estate, multifamily, farm, lots, commercial. And then there's cross property. I love using cross property. A lot of people don't look at that, but there's sometimes like opportunities in a cross property that will pull something. Because sometimes people just list things very strange, you know? Let's say it is a house that needs to be torn down. They put it already as land. Well, if it's hunting land or something like that, maybe you want that little structure, you know? So there's different ways. Go ahead.
What is cross property?
Yeah.
Cross property. Oh, I'm sorry. That pulls from all of them. So it doesn't just look at single family. It goes every single thing that's been put on the entire MLS, commercial and all of it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Did you learn something? Yay!
Oh. That's one. Here we go.
I have some really experienced agents in here, and one of my goals always is to teach tricks to everyone. I want to make sure that we really have value to your guys' time, and that you feel like when you're done with this, that this was well spent. So yeah, no, cross property. Now, we'll go through the tabs and then we'll go into some of these searches, because of course, search is the big part of this. But so the finance. Now, this is like, rarely do people ever use this finance tab. We should have our own net sheets, but it is actually a net sheet that you can put the numbers into and compare 3 different things. The financial calculators, I think there's better ones out there, quite frankly, so I don't really necessarily suggest using those. And the buyer's closing costs, don't we want the lender to be taking the lead on that? I really believe in staying in our own lane with that kind of thing, that we want them to have exact numbers for that. So I just use this finance for the estimated proceeds sometimes. And the reason I do it, I'll go to my title company has a really good one. And then I just plug their numbers in and use it when I've got multiple offers sometimes, so that they can see it. Cause I actually like the way it looks when I print that out. It does look pretty good. The next one is roster. I use roster an awful lot. If you put an offer in on any of my properties, I'm going to know what you've done in business in the last 2 years. And I'm actually going to see, I just touched that we have these things called a quick CMA. I will pull you up, and I'll pull myself up so that, you know, I'll tell on myself. So I'll put my last name. Well, I can put my first name because I think there's only 2 of us. Yep, me and Winona Paul, who used to be in my same office. So we click results on that. And there I am. Well, if I just click me here, it's going to tell, you're going to be able to see my last 2 years of business. But sometimes I want to know a little bit more about you. I want to know how long you've been in business. So when that happens, I just copy the agent number and I put it in a search. And of course, the best search to put it in is the cross property research, because I want to know if you've done some multifamily or any commercial or any of that as well. I want to know who's on the other side of my offers. Okay. Always.
No.
I'm so glad that I'm telling you, this really is what I want, is you guys to.
Who taught you all of this?
I'm a nerd and I love systems.
Yeah.
So I went to every class that they've had, but this, the quick CMA, I went to a class from Carrie Schmidt. She doesn't teach in her own market center, but she taught us a listing class at Eden Prairie. Maybe I should tell you who I am. I'm Winona Eichelberger. I've been a real estate agent with Keller Williams only. I started at the Lake Minnetonka office in 2014. I was there in Captain 2 years, and then I moved to the Eden Prairie because it was closer to my life. And then I joined when I was there, capping agent, all of that. But I decided I had tried to create my own team a couple times using the systems in the MERA, because I really believe in that. But I am not a great hirer. And so I found that out. And I was like, how can I be a part of a team and learn what they're learning? Because I could see they were doing some amazing things. So I joined the Hergenrother Group, which was an expansion team in my market center, and grew within there. Well, then they pulled out of Eden Prairie and took me up to Maple Grove. So after 2 years in Eden Prairie, I went up to Maple Grove. And then I went to a family reunion the year that Command came out. And Gary Keller told us that he didn't care if there were any other agents out there, but there will always be Keller agents. And I thought, maybe I can do this as a single agent myself again. And so then I split from the team and then stayed up there and then became their productivity coach and then grew my own team again and then decided I didn't want to be in leadership. And the best way to break was to come down here for me. And so I've been in this market center for 3 years now. I brought 6 agents, I think, with me on my team. And in the subsequent years, I have chosen to, for some really strange reasons, to not have a team anymore. And so I'm not considered a solo agent because I do have a virtual assistant in the Philippines. I use Eichelberger for that. And so they consider me a solo plus or something. So
Yeah.
that's why if you don't see me on any of those things, it's because it's weird. Anyway, so Carrie Schmidt taught us about the quick CMA, and literally it changed everything about my business. So I'm just going to show you what will happen if we look me up and do a quick CMA and the great information it gives us. I might not want you guys to know this about me, but you will. Okay, so then we select all, and then we go down here to the quick CMA. And this is going to tell you when I'm working with my buyers, or no, this is my sellers. This is a good information. This is what I'd want to know if I was putting an offer in. I do the same thing when I'm working with a buyer and I'm putting in an offer. I want to know how, does that listing agent, do they price things correctly? Do they care about the data? Because I can tell that from this. So what's going, okay, that's not right. Why did it?
She went to roster.
Oh, I'm gonna go back.
You didn't do,
Okay, I'm going back.
that.
Okay, I'll do those. Okay, so we're gonna go into the cross property search. And we're gonna go into, down at the bottom, we're gonna go into selling agent and click me. So there, well, that is so, but whatever, 64. So we're gonna select all of those. And then we're gonna go to this button that says quick CMA. Okay, so it shows that I had this multifamily here, and then it shows all the different ones. But the information that's really good to know about is what was my original list price? What was the list price at the time of close? What did it actually sell for? Did they get any seller paid concessions? What's the percentage? When did it close? How many days on market? I want to know that about you if you're putting an offer in for me. I want to know that about you if I'm putting an offer in on your house. So that's the kind of thing that I go to roster for.
How
Get
far
there.
back does it go? How many years?
Well, the way I just did it, where you go to a cross property or you go to single family, it'll do their entire career.
Really?
Right. But if you just go to roster and pull their name up on roster, stupid bar is in my way, sorry guys. It will show you the last 2 years. Which is awesome information to know, well, this has been some hard years for some people. Have they been active while we've had some hard years,
How do you do it so it's not just 2 years?
You go into an actual search. If you do a cross property, you can see all of their stuff. If you do it in single family home, if that's most what people are doing, you do it that way. Yep. And then, yep. And then you select all, and then you can do that quick CMA and see what their stats are. And I just think that that's a really great tool to be using. Okay, so then the other thing that you can see from the roster is who's in an office. you know, I kind of sometimes want to know, like, who's in the office? Oh, I've got 2 offers on a property from, Keller. Are they in the same office of Keller? You can kind of look at those kind of things. And then there's a team search, so you can see if somebody's on. The next is the tax. I love searching tax records. When I don't have somebody's information, like sometimes I'll get like an instant message on Facebook, and a friend will be like, hey, I need to find out what my mom's house is worth. We're going to be putting it on the market. And I don't necessarily know maybe her mom, maybe I know her mom's name or whatever. I can put that into the property search, find out the address and do my digging that way without having to find stuff. If I don't have a complete data stuff in my CRM, I use that. I put their names in. If I get an internet lead and I want to see if they own any property, I use it for a lot of things. And so the more you know about those things, just the more you can really explore them. Stats. When Kari was talking about how she does her newsletter for stats, this is such a great page to really find out. On the front page, there is like the market watch that you can go ahead and customize for yourself. And so mine, I believe, is only the Twin Cities because I really don't care about, all of everything that's on the MLS because, like, for sure, I just want Minnesota. I'm not licensed in Wisconsin, so I don't want to mix theirs in with ours. And then I've selected a map so that this is the area I'm getting my stats on. But if you have a neighborhood, you should maybe be looking at that really closely. Data is such a big part of our job. And for us to be able to speak intelligently about what is the real thing going on in the market. And, what are those different markets? Because right now, if you're looking at single family homes compared to what is the condo market doing in Minneapolis, all of those things, you want to be able to really get to dial in on that. So I just look at that area because that's what's important to me because that's where I work the most. But in the stats, let's say I live in Chanhassen and I'm in the Minnetonka School District. Maybe I want to target that as a stat that I know more things about. So what I would do is I would go into the stats. I would put my municipality as Chanhassen. And the Chanhassen houses that are in the Minnetonka School District, the same houses from the same builder are generally $100,000 more than the ones that are in the Eastern Carver County School District. So that does matter, right? So that's why I'm going to put the school district in there as well. Not that those neighborhoods can't get a bus. Almost all of them have a bus that you can get for $100, but maybe I just want to look at that. So I want to look at a time. I think this. We'll see. Well, we'll just grab these. So let's take a look at days on market compared to closed price, and then we generate a report. And it comes up with almost those same stats that David Arvitz does for us at MLS. And we can do it on the markets we want. We can do it to a neighborhood so that we have it special to that. We can also do InfoSparks, really dialed in like that too. And the nice thing about InfoSparks is once we get the link to InfoSparks, we can have it that it automatically updates every month. So if we put it on our web pages or in a newsletter, we never have to change that link out because it will automatically live update for the month that we're in. So there's some really great ones.
Can you say that again?
So in InfoSparks, if we select an area or a town that we want to, because like I have Facebook posts that go out every single day. I have one that's for a neighborhood in either St. Paul or Minneapolis, and then I have a town. And when you click on my link, it goes to my website, and my virtual assistant has gone into InfoSparks. She created, the way we did it was single family home, townhouses separated out by condos, and then seeing what the price of those are, and then days on market for them, and then price per square foot for each one of those. And because it's a live link, we never have to touch it ever again. And it's the absolute information for today's month. You never have to touch it again.
So you can go into InfoSparks and just pull it then?
Well, the thing is, when they go to my website, she probably made those posts 1.5 years ago or 2 years ago now. It will tell you today's market. A lot of people didn't know how to do that. And so I go into, because I always look at other people's things because I want to know what everybody else is doing. I'm nosy, like that's maybe my best trick, right? And so I go in and I'm like, oh my gosh, they've got stats from 2020. That has nothing to do with today. Anybody looking at that is going to be like, what's going on? This refreshes automatically. But this is a way, just, especially if you want to be the neighborhood expert, you should be looking at these. You should have it time blocked in your schedule to be looking at this for an hour. I know that Nate Pence, who's a mega agent in the Maple Grove office, on his Monday, he has an hour every week that he looks at the stats. He's got a bunch of different neighborhoods that he really looks in deep dive because he door knocks and he needs to be able to have conversations that are really relevant for everybody, but really great stuff in the stats. Edit ad, when you have a listing and you need to add a open house, that's where you go. Then in your tools, it has the links, the dashboard, your transaction desk, showing time, my flood status, trust funds, all of those things. RPR is another one. If you haven't done RPR classes, to get lots of stats and the reports that they put out, because we used to talk about the DISC report all the time, what type of person you're dealing with. And I happen to be married to an engineer. So those people that love the stats, love the numbers, love all of that, giving them an RPR report that they can just like sit there, because it's like 45 pages, and you just PDF it and send it to them. I mean, my husband just eats that stuff up. When we were selling our house, like I had to give him all these things, right? And it's fine. Because quite frankly, if you ask me, home selling, when we're talking about pricing and all of that, it's an art and a science. It is both, we have to be really cognizant of that. There's different types of people coming in and you're going to appeal to different people different ways. Some are only going to be looking at the pictures. They're not going to look at anything else. There's other people, it's going to be like price per square foot. I mean, just this last week with different buyers, there was one, he was able to tell me the price per square foot in each house that we were in. These are very smart clients we have nowadays, and we need to be at least one step ahead of them because they'll find it, So that is that one. So let's do a little bit deeper dive into the searches. So when we're working with a client, there's a couple different searches that we can create. And like we talked about, the data is only as good as what you have. So let's just do a typical, let's say we have a buyer that's looking for their first home in Bloomington. And, generally it's going to be a rambler. So that's cool with them. They would like that second bathroom and they'd actually like a 2-car garage. So we're going to go in. And when we're creating the search, we want to make sure that we're getting all the coming soons and the actives. I personally take out any of the contingencies. So when we go to the next part, we don't want to show them things maybe not on the market or that's in pending because it confuses them, Why can't I go in? Can't we try to bump those people out? Well, if it's in pending, it's going to be 80 to 90% positive that's going to close. So, I just don't think that it's a good idea to want a house that you can't have. So I go down into the contingency and I usually put none for my searches for my buyers. Now, if I have some active buyers that are really in a crunch or they need and they're very specific of where they need, I will allow, like I'll do maybe, I will sometimes take it off and then get rid of maybe, because what I wanted them to be able to see is ones that are contingent on sale of property.
Mhm.
That's the only caveat that I'm like, because we could bump one of those off. The thing is, in this long of being in, I've never been able to really bump one. I mean, I think maybe some people are better at that, but I just haven't had a situation where bumping one has worked out for me. So do you have that happen? Are you able to bump offers with the sale contingent on? Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. No, I mean, you never know.
Depends on the buyers and if they can come up with the money or if.
Well, and how much,
So many scenarios.
in your experience, is it, how much information do you get from the listing agent to know what will bump that offer?
Well, I mean, they're probably sick of them by then, so they'll tell you what
Truly.
you need.
They do tell you a lot more, don't they? No. It's so important to call people prior to putting an offer in.
Well, if you give them a little education and say, technically, if we make you a better offer, and when you call, they have to fulfill the contract as written. It doesn't matter if they come up with the cash, because that's not how they made the offer.
Not how they
They
made
could
the
have to
offer.
magically sell that property in 3 days.
Without a contingency on it.
Yeah.
So are they going to be able to lift maybe a HOA right of rescission contingency on the sell part of it? Sometimes they won't, most times they won't, right? So in the right circumstance, I want the people to see that. So I totally agree that maybe checking all but that for the right clients, but if we're doing just a general, and these people aren't in a crazy crunch or any of that, I would tend to do the none. And then if they are somebody who only wants a rambler, maybe they only want a rambler. It's so funny how I didn't know that I would be working with people who only wanted split levels. I'm not a fan of split levels. I've grown to love split levels. Like, I don't know if I'd buy one, but I have an appreciation because I see for some families that is a really great floor plan. But I'm somebody who likes really old homes and that kind of charm and, the tall baseboards and things like that. So I tend to gravitate toward those. But I think it's really good. If somebody doesn't want to be seeing story and a half, we don't, they actually get a little bit more upset that you didn't listen to them than not. It's funny though, you always want to be checking in with your clients because it's funny how they'll just like, hey, can we go see this house? Oh, well, that one isn't on your search because it's a story and a half. Have you changed your mind about the things you're willing to see? And the longer they see stuff and the more anxious they are, funny how stuff just starts opening up, So we want to be cognizant of that. There's these really wonderful special searches, but once again, the person on the other side will have had to have put the 3-bedroom search in. And that's something they literally have to cross the box. And if they've not done it, you may miss out on one if you're only specifically looking at that. So you've got to be a little bit, cognizant of that. So we're going to do, let's do this person. Let's say they want 3+ bedrooms. They wouldn't be mad if there were more bedrooms, You can do a range of bedrooms. So let's say 3 to 4. If they had that 5th one, then, their crazy cousin would maybe move in with them. So they do not want a 5th bedroom, maybe, I've actually had somebody who has said, we don't want more than this many bedrooms because family will move in. And it's just a cultural thing for them. And they just don't want to have the space. So we listen to our client. Bathrooms, they want 2+, because they wouldn't be mad about a 3rd bathroom, but they absolutely have to have 2. Garage stalls, 2+, because if you only put 2, there might be a house in their price range that has 3 or 4 or a second garage, so we don't want to ever limit it. It's always the pluses. Year built, when I'm doing a search and when I'm doing a search, when I'm trying to think about value, I always do a range of 5 up and above and below. so that we are looking at houses of similar ilk. You know, that's an important piece, and that's what an appraiser does. I try to set my stuff when I am figuring out values of things to what an appraiser, because I want to be able to prove my prices, whether I'm on the listing side or on the buyer side. I do a quick CMA for all of my buyers. So when we're putting an offer in, I can say to them, this is the number I can prove. If you choose to go ahead and offer up and above that, I can't guarantee that I could fight an appraisal to get you that amount. Because I myself have fought 6 appraisers as a buyer's agent and got them taken care of. And when I was productivity coach, I helped 15 people reverse appraisals to get their clients their houses. So it's just something that I really am. I'm a data-driven person and can prove the reason why something is. And I just believe that appraisers shouldn't be the ones who set values for homes ever. That us out in the field know what a value is on a house. We start feeling it really quickly, and we know what those ranges are a little bit better. And they're always using past data. So, you know, they can't feel the shifts of the market as quickly as we can. So I always look between, you know, these 5 years of anything. You know, is it important to your client to get a bigger lawn? You know, maybe they don't want to be right next to their neighbor. Maybe they want a half an acre. You know, there are some big lots in East Bloomington that are just shocking. You know, they're on some good land. And then square footage, you know, oftentimes what's important is the above ground square footage, because below ground square footage, you know, just like we'd mentioned at a team meeting recently, appraisers don't really look at it. And quite frankly, even when we do look at it, it's not 60 cents on the dollar. You know, one of the things I tell my clients who have bought newer homes that have unfinished basements, please be very cognizant of the finishes you're putting into your basement. There are so many houses out there that you go to, and because they're the ones who are finishing it, they go higher than their main floors. And it's like, we're never getting that money back. That is just a sunk cost. Whereas if you would have just done it to the standard or even slightly below, you would really get value out of it. So things to think about when we're talking to our clients. Anywho, so single family homes. So right now in Bloomington, and maybe they're willing to go not just Bloomington, but Bloomington and Ridgefield. Okay, so there's 24 only, which in a spring market like this just seems like not a lot. So we have the 4 that are coming soon. And then we have 20. And this readout that you're seeing, you can change that. Mine might look different than yours because I always add the listing agent's name. I personally just want to know who's listing it. So I have added that column, but I could absolutely take that out. And you just click on that side and then push remove. We can change where these are. Like if you're working with somebody that, you know, the most important thing is that garage stall, I can have that the front thing that I'm looking when I'm looking for them. I oftentimes will add the column to find out what the list date was or those kind of things. Yeah. And then we can also see like the map. You can go to that tab and take a look where those are. Because quite frankly, like if we're looking at values, we kind of know that Bloomington is split by 35 and things on one side of 35 are going to be a different cost than on the other side of 35. So in that case, maybe I don't want to look at West Bloomington. I just want East Bloomington and Richfield. I would go ahead and take this little drawing. I'm going to draw the rectangle because it's kind of rectangle-ish. And I will get rid of that side of the freeway. And then you click on that and we exclude. So one time I was working with a client, it was a referral from an agent in my office whose in-laws didn't want to work with him. And we had a huge map except for 5 miles from his house because they didn't want him stopping over for coffee all the time. Because they knew if like that 5 miles outside that he wouldn't be there all the time, but inside Jack would be at some days before they woke up and they just didn't even want it. You know, he didn't know that that's how our search was set up because he would be asking me, so did you show him the one over here that's, oh, you know what, that really just didn't work for them. There was something on the criteria that just wasn't right. It was you, unfortunately. He was one of my mentors and he did pass away a couple of years, but he was a great guy. But I wouldn't have wanted him at my coffee table when I was just waking up either because he was a lot. But this is, you know, there are going to be places that your client doesn't want. And so knowing where not to send them, because if you send them places that they have told you, I will not live there, all they feel is, God, they're not listening to me. And they really believe most times that you are actually picking each of these properties specifically for them. They really feel that when it goes automatically to them. So, and then these are the results. So that tab is for the results. So you can do it from up here or down below, doesn't matter. Criteria down here or above. So then if this is the search that my client is going to be best suited for, we go to the results page. And there's a couple options. We can decide to save it as a new save search or an automatic. There's no real big differences. They are categorized differently. And when we're looking at our personal listings, they are put up in different ways. So I'm just going to go ahead and set that. I'm going to find myself in the thing just to create that. So we have to name the search, and I'll just put Bloomington, Richfield. And because of that team meeting that we were just recently at, that Jill Weaver said that she puts her name and her phone number on the search so that every time it goes into the, because this is the memo line that will come up on into your client's email every time it drops. And I'm telling you, you may think that other people aren't working with other, they might not have other searches with other real estate agents. They sometimes do. And it's surprising. So because of that, Jill actually taught us this the other day, that she puts her name after the type of search. So Winona, and she puts realtor and her phone number. Why not have them think of us every, because these drop however frequently you want them to.
Yeah.
I always, you know, here's where you can do it as a concierge, but I always switch it to ASAP. I want it to drop 50 times a day as soon as a new one goes into their search. And what most people don't know, if you don't do ASAP, it goes on, it updates your client the time you created the search. So if you're creating your search at 9 in the morning, they get it at 9 in the morning. if you had a consultation with them at 8:30 at night, even though everybody else got their drop into their bucket, you know, when it was listed ASAP or, you know, earlier, they're not getting it until, you know, and if we're not giving them the information as it comes up, they're going to Zillow. We don't want them to get it from Zillow. We want them to think about us. So we'll press save, and then that will go into ours. And just so, oh, one of the things that I should have shown on that is there's also a place where you decide whether or not it is reverse prospecting for your client. This is where you set that. So I'll do another one as a save search. And Winona Realtor, Rich Field, do it Winona Eichelberger, then save it. Oh, it didn't show that. It is only then under the autos because it's right here. It's under the concierge where it says you can enable it. Show this contact in the reverse searches. And then you can also have it on your home page where you can be watching what they're looking at. So the way that looks, just so you kind of see the back end of that, in this My Listing, you can go down to the hit counter. And then we can see on my listings that I have live right now, you know, if you go across that the top one is in 1,051 views or portals that 511 people looked at it. 22 people marked it with a little heart as a favorite. And then 1,100 went to auto emails. And through those, it had 189 views. For concierge people, it looks like it's on 5 different concierge. 3 people said go forward. 2 people, it didn't have the right criteria.
You get that view?
This is from my hit counters. And then I click into it, and this only updates at midnight every day.
Hit counter.
Yeah, it's hit counter. So that you can see all of those. It's in, and you can also pull it down as a view.
Yep.
Yep.
I just have to open it up.
Okay. And then we can do a deeper dive and click on one of those that we want. We can print it. I send this every Tuesday to my listing so that they can see. This is data that I send my clients every single week that they're on. So, you know, unfortunately, Morning View's been on for a long time because they're one of those townhouses that is a 10%. So it's sticking around. It can only do cash or unwarranted conventional. So it's been on a little while. So then we go down to the reverse prospecting. So whoever said, so in that spot, you can opt out of the reverse prospecting so that you won't be on this list for me. But most people don't click that little button so that I get them. And the nice thing about the reverse prospecting is I get the agent's name, and then we can refer to their thing, but whoever looks anything up by the number, I don't think anybody does. But then the count. So for his client, there's only 15 other in the searches right now. And then the date that it got sent to him. So he has it as ASAP, whereas the other person, because this one, we got truncated in our schedule. So I only had a 1-day on coming soon, which I don't like doing. But I can tell now how many people don't give their clients coming soon because it only came to them when it was active. There are that many people who aren't using coming soon for their clients. Like, what a missed opportunity. But quite frankly, coming soon only came about probably 7 years ago. So if they didn't learn it when they were doing their MLS, they don't change anything and their clients don't get it. Yeah. So, and then we can go down, these are all the people who have it as a favorite. So every one of those, my assistant will email them, inviting them to our open houses, because we always do with my stuff, a first day on open house and then 2 open houses on the weekend, and we honor all relationships so that people don't have to drop their lives and their client can see it first day on. And we had 12 people at this one on our first open house. We had 12 people on the second, and then because Grand Oak Days, we had 25 groups through on Sunday. And then we went into multiple offers. Yep.
The thing about this that I try and tell people is, it's the most annoying way to do it, but the best way to do it is to email them one by one in the system.
Oh,
You know this?
the way that's one, I know that you can click onto them and do it from the system. The way that we do it, my assistant does it, is she copies it,
Yep.
puts it into an Excel spreadsheet.
That's the way you would want to do it if you have a marketing brain. But the
Right.
problem is, if you get an email and you're like, that's great, I don't know who you're talking about,
Whereas this
appreciate it.
gives it all.
If you
Yes,
click
right.
on there and you go one by one, it will send a link to the specific client that you can click on.
Oh, that's
So-
beautiful.
Or tells the
Yes.
agent what client it is, because if the agent.
Otherwise, they
busy and
won't
working
know.
with
Yeah.
both, they have no idea.
That
This
is
might be a match
a
for one of
really
your
great
clients,
way to
oh,
do it.
Client.
Yep.
So we have a template saved for all of our listings
You
that
just put it
says,
through.
and I even replaced the subject line by saying, click here to see which client.
Awesome.
Because I'm trying to stand out, because we all get a million of these reverse
We get all
prospects.
sorts of
Like,
stuff.
listen, this is at the bottom of my list of things that I care about right now.
Exactly.
But you try to make it as easy as possible, and especially for the ones that have a favorite.
Especially the
Especially
favorite.
the hardest.
And then do you guys have like a cap? Because I go to 30 and under, where if they on their search have 30 houses or under, I have my an email sent out.
Great.
Because you know what? If somebody's looking and there are 50, 60, 75,
Yeah.
80, are they really looking for my house? Is that really
Right.
gonna be the one? If it was, wouldn't they be in favorites? Because somebody 648, but they favorited it. Do we really think I'm getting an offer from that guy? But
I mean, I
I wouldn't
we reach, we're
expect
gonna
it.
call the favorites for sure. I'm gonna call that agent.
Yeah,
And get some. But I'm also gonna call them and I'm gonna tell them, check your email, click on the email.
and you'll be right to your client.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah,
So it's a pain in the butt, but it also then underneath the little envelope, it'll show you an
That
icon that you've
sent it.
sent that.
Yep.
And
You can track
and
it.
it takes a few hours to that update.
It's
That's
still good.
really
A good way to
a
do it.
way to do it, in my opinion. 'Cause
Yep. No, you're exactly right.
So I do this sometimes. for
Yeah.
our Team, I do the emails.
Yeah,
And I was this many years old when I figured out that the number right there is how many other houses they've favored.
oh,
That's not how many they favorited, that's how many that have matches.
Okay.
in our search, there's only that many.
I had no idea.
That was, yeah.
I had no idea what that number was. I'm like, oh, I wonder what this number is. No clue.
So
Another, thank you.
I'm so glad people are getting value. That's really seriously why we're doing this. Yeah. No, and here's the thing.
Yeah.
You can be 20 years in this business. You're not gonna know it all. You're never ever, because they change the systems too. I mean, that coming soon, the reason why, and how many people have, had it sent out at coming soon? Oh, look, there's still people today because they have it for Monday to go out. It was listed on as coming soon on Thursday. And these people now
Are just.
didn't get to see it
Oh,
because
yeah.
and it's sold now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because they didn't do ASAP, they didn't do it as coming soon.
Wow.
No wonder their clients are going to Zillow. Right? Like if I'm not getting, I'm like, why aren't you giving me stuff as fast as Zillow has it?
Wow.
Right. But look at all of those. And yesterday, why would you have it set on a Sunday? Because they set up the search on a Sunday. That's silliness.
Every week or whatever.
ASAP, Yeah. So, but if we do it reverse, you can see how many people,
People don't want it ASAP though.
I understand that. And you know what? If somebody's not in a crunch and, they're looking for the exact right one.
A lot during the day, and so they
Right.
don't want it coming all the time because it
Yeah.
distracts them. They just want it to come at morning or
Yeah.
night.
And
I mean, I
when you
understand.
do it, those ones, you can say Monday and you can say AM and so you can get it that it would be, a week later kind of deal. Yeah. And you know what? If that's the priority is their work, it's only when it's really a hot buyer that you are probably going to want to interrupt them as much. I mean, like the idea of that 648, yeah, he probably doesn't want it as an ASAP, maybe he doesn't, and sometimes it's an agent search, for themselves or who knows what they're looking for. Because that's a lot of houses. But yeah, I mean, you've got probably, well, there was 1,000 people that had this on their thing. So, but an awful lot of people did get it as coming soon, which is it's a better thing because it took a while for people to really catch on to doing that. I really think that, it's good to sharpen the sword all the time. Okay, so back to the search. One of the things that I do a lot of is these additional fields. So, for example, when we had a really hot market and I had FHA buyers, so bringing them to hot houses that they had no chance of winning was absolutely deflating their whole energy. What I would do for them is I set up a search that were things that were 7 days or more on market. But you have to do that in an other field. So you may not see, so for the FHA, I would go in and make sure that they allowed FHA. Because there are maybe I want to go back to that Bloomington search. Maybe those are so everybody know that there's this recent search bar? I taught a class and there was an agent who was like 15 years in and they had never known about that and was just mortified. Like, this is going to save me years of my life, right?
Yeah.
Being able to get back the search that you were just on is important, especially when you're really coming up with numbers for listings and the pricing and all of that, because you ding around with things and then go out and leave and all of those things. But to know what this is, please.
You know how you were doing the FHA thing?
Yep.
Have you ever noticed that sometimes then you eliminate things just because the agents are the ones that are inputting stuff and they're not always accurate?
So this would mean that they are absolutely accepting it. And if it's on, maybe if I had already done like the 15 days out and more, I might not put it in because maybe they've been on long enough and they're overpriced enough. And quite frankly, as an FHA buyer, I might go up to their price and be able to convince them, at least take my FHA. But a lot of people know that they can go FHA or not, right? And so you're right. It is truly about what the agent puts in. But I would rather them get things they can absolutely buy when it's such a different market now that we're not seeing that being as big of an issue. At the same time, though, I just don't see a lot of FHA.
Put one level living and then I'll realize that people don't put the right.
They don't put it
information.
in.
Then I'm
Right.
eliminating houses that we should be going to see. So
Right.
I don't put that and I just.
So usually what I do for the one level living is I'll do, nope. I will actually go into the room type and put bedroom main,
But even
bathroom
then,
main.
that's not always. But
Well, almost everybody puts their bedroom on the main, because that's that section that tells you the room size. Everybody puts a main.
Yeah.
The more finite your search, the
Yeah.
greater the chance of it not catching something.
Not catching something. And and it depends on how picky your people are. So in those circumstances that I am worried that they might miss out on something, I do concierge. And I will actually look at it.
Right.
I mean, it's just, to me, that's worth me picking through those, rather than things going to them that they've specifically told me not to, they don't feel heard. And that is such a big part, managing expectations, and people want to feel heard. And it is a crapshoot with that, but that's one of the reasons why I have more concierge than most people,
I've never done concierge.
Yeah.
So is it just simply just selecting that instead of the ASAP?
Instead.
And it comes to you as a search.
Immediately.
You show then so then if you find it, you just physically click and send it to them?
Yep.
It comes on your page and you can actually see it, and then you just say if you reject it or if you want to send it to them.
Oh, really? So it's built-in communication where it's a couple clicks to forward it back onto the client too?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it automatically, I'm going to go ahead and start one to me,
Okay.
just so you can see what it actually looks like. When it comes up, concierge. So then it takes away all those other things because it doesn't care. It comes to me immediately. And then it says save and go to approvals. Oh, I've got to put a subject line. Blah, blah, blah. And then immediately it shows me that list. And I have to look at all of them, and whatever that pickaninny that it wants, I need to not the right backyard.
Yeah.
And then it goes straight to them. So then I can say, oh, these are all fine.
Got it.
Approve or reject
Looks just like a normal search result to them.
them.
Got it.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then you have to hit send though, right?
You do have to approve it. And once you approve it, it goes to them.
Okay.
Yep. And it can be the one, it could be
All of them.
just one at a time. Whenever it comes up, you get it.
But then
Yeah.
you have to stay on it. And
You
when
do have to stay on it.
Yeah.
You have to be, checking it out, because otherwise they'll go
They
to
don't send it to you saying that there's two that you have to approve.
Exactly. You get an
You have-
email every single time that happens. Yep.
Very cool.
So you know that you have, yeah. Yep.
You
You let yourself out?
Rude.
That one.
So,
Yeah.
there, of course, is a million other things that I could go into. This is that search piece. Go ahead.
You have one, and I don't know if you're gonna have an answer, but the biggest gap that I've found in this search is the ADU. Trying to find an ADU, because there's no category,
Right.
there's no special search.
Okay.
And I've never got, there's something about, you can actually add a field to search a word, which has never worked for me.
So in remarks,
Yeah.
you really want to pay attention to the thing behind remarks, where you're using the asterisk as the wild card. So you put asterisks around, like if you were looking for a fixer upper, you put asterisk fixer, asterisk. And then any agent and any remarks that has that, you will get that on your search. So let's do the AUA, or is it ADA?
You gotta do-
ADU, okay,
Wait,
so
what
it's the
is
right
ADU?
terminology. So asterisk,
Yeah.
It's the second unit type down below.
there is a second
And
unit
have
type.
the existing in-law with bath or the existing in-law with kitchen. So depending,
Where's that?
Oh, okay, so ADU is the auxiliary, it's like a second
Accessory dwelling.
accessory dwelling on the same property.
Okay.
And there was a lot of stuff that people in Minneapolis did a lot of, there's in some neighborhoods, it is a really prevalent thing. But to be able to find that, and what are the people categorizing it? Because sometimes they'll put it as a mother-in-law apartment. Sometimes,
It's
Sure,
a weird,
sure, no.
it's a weird thing that for some people, for a very, very, very few amount of people has a lot of value, and the
Yeah.
majority of people don't. And so then you price it high because they've invested a lot of money, but then you get no showings and you never sell it. And I had one last year, and it was this crazy thing. And I talked to David Arbit about it. I'm like, look at that. It's an easy special search thing, if we have to rely on these agents to put ADU in the remarks.
I know.
It's
it's never gonna
Even
happen.
all of us in this room don't even know what ADU stands for.
Right, no, you're
So you
totally
put-
right. Then how do you do it? No, and same with the idea of a mother-in-law apartment and, like all of those things.
So
It-
what did
That's
you say? There's another way?
There's one called a second, you have to do the,
edit, add,
additional
Okay.
fields. you
Okay.
can add
Bottom.
to, And you do the second unit type. And in the second unit type, it has easily divided, existing in-law with bath, existing in-law with kitchen, formerly subdivided, and you can choose
Yep.
and or not.
Second unit.
so easily divided, existing in-law with bath, existing in-law with kitchen.
I mean, so second unit type, I've never even heard of that, so then I don't think if I even checked that.
Right, that's what I'm saying,
Right.
that's about this whole
Yeah.
MLS
I
thing, like.
know, it's as
it's
good as,
good the
Okay.
agents that are using it, and there's just so
Second
many
unit type.
agents that just don't know
Yeah.
any of these things to add.
well, and recently I had somebody who wanted a, corner unit, townhouse. And we're looking for that. And when we looked it up, people just didn't, they didn't check the dumb box. So we ended up setting them up on that concierge because you can't, if it's gonna be something that's so, you really should use that concierge for you to be looking through them for your client. Yeah. I know.
I was looking at some other search thing down at the very bottom. There was like I didn't know about the asterisks.
Yeah, that one works really well for different, because sometimes people like West exposed. I mean, like, it's such a funny thing, and maybe it'll help you, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it won't, but it's just those kind of things.
Cool.
Well, we are over our time. I think that we'll probably be doing maybe a series of this because I used to do it actually weekly on Monday at my old market center because there is so much that there's, really a lot of good stuff.
Is this the new system or the old system?
So this system has just evolved, and this is the one that we've always had, just as the regular matrix MLS. I don't know anything about the Flex one or any of the other ones that they offer. And because I know this one's so deep, I don't think I'd ever go away from one personally.
I've tried the new one and I always go back to the old one.
Right?
Yeah. So they should get rid.
Now, I hope that everybody feels super comfortable. If you ever have any questions at all about any of these things, I love being a resource and I love masterminding around this. And even if you have I Zoom one-on-one with people literally all the time because when I was a brand new agent, I came into this thinking I needed to be perfect and this and that. So any question I had, I asked 3 agents. And it's not a joke. Every single question, because I had one who was a high D who would give me a nice direct answer. And then I'd have somebody who'd be like really loopy and all creative. And then I had a data-driven person so that I could see where they would talk. And I did. And those people just poured so much into me. And I'm so grateful that I want to be that kind of person. And I think that that's part of what Keller Williams really is all about. They're so awesome about that. And it's just something that I really always want to be giving back. So please, anything, I love being a resource.
Thank you, Winona.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Winona. Thank you guys for coming.
Everybody should have been here.
Their loss. We're gonna know how to look for the ADUs. Yeah.
No.
So many more questions I wrote down.
Some deep diving that might be like, oh, that wasn't maybe a newer.
Where is that?
Did you love it?
I know him.
You said it, it's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.